I found a 20-year-old iPod stuck in the ground in the middle of Washington State off of a no-name exit. Getting data off of it wouldn't be easy because... The first step after inspecting the overexposed melted chassis was to get some cleaning supplies. I started by using alcohol to clean the contacts and using wooden toothpicks to pick out dirt. Did you know that statistically it might be more likely that you're a random brain that popped into existence about 5 seconds ago with fake memories? Anyway, listen to this squeaky clean port. In retrospect, I should have air blasted first. Contacts are clean and it's time for the moment of truth. Oh my god, the lights have turned on the battery, showing that it's, My enthusiasm was short-lived. What songs do you think are actually hiding in there? So how did I come into possession of a vintage 2005 iPod Nano, complete with heat-warped chassis? In December 2025, my friend Dana was going to be visiting a small Bavarian town in Washington. The town is like The Sound of Music, but with Subarus.
If you live around here, you know the one.
At the same time, I was visiting Spokane. It just so happened that we would cross paths going east-west on I-90. We decided to meet halfway. That halfway was precisely here. We exited the freeway, briefly said hello, and parted ways. It was a particularly beautiful sunset, so I got out my mirrorless to frame the falling light against the farmland. Perhaps an unremarkable photograph, but a comforting memory of a beautiful sunset captured nonetheless. It was then at my feet, the mummified tech impacted in the ground, waiting to be discovered. I've got the FireWire, a proper charging brick with 5 volts 1 amp, iTunes is ready. Let's see if we can uncover what songs are hidden in this device. Wake up. Day 3 of attempting to revive a 20-year-old iPod. The comments suggested I plug in the iPod to a proper charging device and let it charge overnight. Despite not seeing any change in the display, it was time to plug into the laptop and see if iTunes could see anything. Still nothing. In doing so, however, I noticed a bit of dirt coming out of the case. Let's give it a little tap. Oh dear, I'll need to clean this out a bit more. At the time of recording this message, March 12th, a little after 5 p.m., I still have no idea what's on the iPod. It won't turn on even after being charged, so it likely needs a new battery and some soldering. The good news is, I do have a replacement battery ordered and arriving in just a couple days, likely this weekend. Also, there needs to be higher fines for littering. Quick melted iPod update. The quest for uncovering music continues. The replacement battery has arrived, so it is time to take apart the iPod and install it. This will be a slightly longer video as I want to showcase the state each part the iPod is in. It's actually been very helpful to get feedback on what your eyes see. Speaking of comments, I'm listening. I've finally ordered a proper FireWire cable to charge the device. It should arrive this week. Also, I should make it clear that I take no joy in delaying the restoration. It is my hope that with patience I can avoid further damage, physical and electrical, and release the files to you all without delay. As we approach the soldering segment of this broadcast, I'm reminded of the first time I ever used a soldering gun to make a fully functional multipass as part of a Fifth Element cosplay. I feel certain that the NAND flash drive is likely in a recoverable state if we can get it on a functioning board, this one or another. A direct data dump might be in order to reveal the buried playlist. I have also upgraded my cleaning agent. I will no longer be using municipal water straight from the tap. Time to prepare the battery soldering points. Desoldering one battery, and then attaching the new one, making sure to match positive, negative, and data wires back to the correct nodes. Next, unscrewing the board from the front plate to access the storage chip and other dirty connections. I can't fully separate the circuit board, as there are a couple of ribbons that are attached to the front plate, and I don't want to risk unplugging them at this time. Time to clean out the inside and reattach the plate. If you have any additional suggestions, let me know. The FireWire dock and cable are on their way and should arrive soon. While I wait for the package, I'll be working on other projects, one of which, oddly enough, also involves discovering buried retro tech in the sand. Part 5 of uncovering what's on this severely weathered iPod. The 30-pin to FireWire cable, complete with charging dock, has arrived, and I have a little surprise for those who were patient. I decided to buy a used iPod Nano to understand how they look and work, as well as being the new host body for the original iPod's logic board. To keep things clear, I'll refer to them as the field and donor iPods. One thing about the Nano is that there's no on-off button or enclosure detection. The iPod simply idles until dead as long as there's a battery attached. After taking apart the donor iPod, I have more confidence on what to do with the field iPod. Also, for those that are curious why I don't just swap storage devices, it is because they are not removable. It is permanently soldered to the logic board by 48 tiny pins. Removing it safely requires pro tools and is a huge gamble even if done right. Professionals charge about $1,000 to do this. With the donor iPod disassembled, it's time to work on the field iPod, starting with desoldering the battery. Applying some solder to the tip of the tool will help detach the battery, starting with the power connection. Then data, and finally the grounding wire. With the battery free, I can now access the ribbon that connects to the touch plate. And lastly, the screen. Time to clean some of these parts and permanently retire others. My cleaning agent has had yet another upgrade, a genuine Signature Care 198 proof. The smell is actually so strong I'm taken aback. Whoa, this is strong. Next is to gently brush off as much dirt and corrosion as possible. The alcohol dries pretty fast, but also gets stuck under ribbons and inside chips, meaning we now have to wait 24 to 48 hours before it's safe for the unit to receive power. Something I noticed while working with these Nano batteries is that the newer one that I purchased seemed to be thinner and lighter than the official ones. Check this out. For this next part, if you have any idea what these chips are, there are 2 of them that are loose on the field board but solid on the donor. I'm worried that they're crucial, but unsure if I should resolder. Please take a look and let me know what you think. Finally, while experimenting with the donor iPod, I discovered that you do not need to install old iTunes for the computer to read it. The latest iTunes detects that you're using an older iPod and prompts you to install the necessary patch to get the device seen by iTunes. All we need to do now is to wait for the unit to dry, potentially do some minor soldering, and then plug the device in. This is the quickest way to do this while being safe to my knowledge. If all goes well, the next video will be potentially the last in the series if the device powers on and the playlist can be read. Stay tuned. What is in the brain of this iPod Nano?
Beef juice in the house!
It's me again, International Restoration Auteur Wade Hendrickson, and it's time to attempt to micro-solder this microchip onto this Nano board.
We'll need to swap for a fine tip and some flux.
There are 2 caps that each have 5 solder points that need to be reconnected. 2 of the 5 solder points are easier than the other 3. I realize after tackling the 2 easier ones that the 3 remaining will be impossible for me without bridging them. Let's just get this back together and see if it powers on. No sign of life. This means Plan B, attempting to remove the NAND from the board itself, and then transferring it into a donor board. In a previous video, I stated it wasn't possible. I was wrong. That's allowed. Unlike external storage nowadays, the caveats of swapping the Nano brain from one body to another is that the memory and the motherboard are likely paired, so when you mix them, it may not boot. I wish I had a heart rate monitor hooked up because my heart was palpitating. What you see here is the diagnostic screen of the board.
You can't see it, but if I was able to scroll down, you'd see the reboot option, which is what I need to get into the main OS. Unfortunately, I did not connect the touch plate correctly. Before I take this apart, let's plug this into iTunes while it's in this diagnostic state. It's basically telling me I need to boot up the iPod properly before it can read it. Trying an alternative iTunes software reads a bit different. iMazing lets me know that the device is formatted for Mac, and can't be read without a program called MacDrive. I tried MacDrive, but in the Nano's diagnostic state, the device can't be seen. To reboot the device proper, I needed to take off the back plate to fix the touch plate connection. In my haste, disaster struck. The ribbon that was connected to the screen snapped. Also, the headphone ribbon snapped. Also, I melted the battery wires. I have ordered a second donor iPod. It will be here in about a week. Previously on iPod ICU. The ribbon that was connected to the screen snapped. The headphone ribbon snapped. I melted the battery wires. I have got to get it out of this diagnostic state.
The system isn't even formatted. It's raw data, you donut.
Alright, I got another iPod to house the guts, skeleton, and brain of the old iPod. I now have 3 iPods in various states of repair, and I need to remember which part goes to which base. One thing I noticed right off is that first-gen Nanos have various internal configurations despite all having the same model number. This has been the root of some discourse in the comment section. Some people have said you cannot remove the NAND from the board. Others have said you can remove it. Turns out that it was both. For the Gen 1 iPod Nano, there were at least 2 NAND storage iterations. Soldered where it's very fixed to the board, and modular where there's a little more wiggle room. Also apparently called a daughter board, which is the term I'll be using going forward since it might be the only kit I have. Sorry, Dad. The incredible news is that the iPod I found in the field is the daughter board variation. I have named her Nandini. Here you go, Beta. Now to get the precious NAND flash into the latest host and see if I can get it to boot past diagnostic. Alright, working screen, click wheel is operational, time to see if the device can reboot into home. Okay. I sit for a moment and process that the device is still not booting into home. I decide it is time to experiment. Let's say I did restore the device in iTunes. Will it boot then? Will any files magically appear? Best not try this on the field daughter. Let's try this on the donor daughter. I'm here to tell you folks, I did it. I didn't film the whole process, but the wipe was successful. The iPod booted into home. I then tried deep scanning the flash drive again with a software surgical kit to recover the unrecoverable. But I'm not going to reveal what was found on that donor iPod just yet. But wait, I can hear the comments already saying, how did this work? You just wiped the hard drive. And to them I say, it's not a hard drive, it's a flash drive. I discovered that the Nano has a flash translation layer that interfaces with the file system structure on top of the NAND. Basically, the FTL is firmware that sits between the raw NAND and the system. When it is corrupted, no one gets access to the data. Wiping the headset also rebuilds this important communication layer and is how I'm able to detect raw files. I'm out of time, but in the next video I'm going to wipe the OG brain and search for anything that isn't overwritten. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I did my best to notice when the call came down the line, up to the platform of surrender. I was brought, but I was kind. And sometimes I get nervous when I see an open door. Close your eyes, clear your heart, cut the cord. Are we human?
We happy? Wait. We happy?
Yeah, we happy.
Looking for the answer. Are we human? Or are we dancer?
Name something you like your girlfriend to do to your face.
I'm gonna say sit on it.
Yes! Sit on it!
They always did the best they could. And so long to devotion. You taught me everything I know. Wave goodbye, wish me well.
but